Okay, this video contains information for those retrofitting a Walmart system with an IOM to a Touchplate system that has a Nexus controller. Okay, this is a standard setup with 48 total relays. This setup has 24 relays on the left side, and there are 24 relays here on the right side. In the middle chamber, there are the relay firing cards. Each of the firing card is labeled. Board number 1, outputs 1 through 8, is here at the top. Board number 2, outputs 1 through 8. Here is board number 3, outputs 1 through 8. In the top right corner is board number 4, outputs 1 through 8. Here is board number 5, outputs 1 through 8. And at the bottom right-hand corner is board number 6, outputs 1 through 8. So although there are a total of 48 total relays, each of the firing card can handle 8 total relays. So this information will come in handy when it comes time to program the Nexus controller, which is up here at the top. The Nexus controller has a contact closure here at the top, which is where the control wires from the IOM will land. There are 8 total inputs here. These are a set of dry contacts here. The 24 volt DC input here is at the bottom. This is not polarity sensitive. There are some switch inputs here at the bottom, some digital switch inputs. These are not used for the Walmart systems. And there's a backnet MSTP 3-position connector here. These are rarely used in the Walmart systems. So if your system has a system management front end on it, this is where those control wires will land here in the MSTP port. So again, this is an overview for the Touchplate system with the Nexus controller, which is retrofitting to the Walmart with the IOM. Okay, in this part of the video, we will review the dip switches that are used for the Nexus controller. Okay, down here in the options section, dip switches 6, 7, and 8 are what are going to be used for the Walmart setup. Dip switches 7 and 8 come from the factory preset. Dip switch number 8 is used to activate the contact closure up top here. The contact closure is used for the outputs for the Novar IOM control wires. The contact closure is programmed on station number 16 over here. Dip switch number 7 here, which is also another one of the preset dip switches with it turned to the on position. This is used to discover any of the devices that are in the system. So as you can see, number 16, station number 16 here is showing that it has been discovered. So the contact closure has been activated. Board 1 through 6 or firing cards 1 through 6 have also been discovered, which are the firing cards down below here. Just going to go ahead and shut this off. Dip switch number 6 is used for troubleshooting purposes. So with dip switch number 6 in the on position, I'm just going to go ahead and take a short piece of wire here. I'm going to land one end into the common on the contact closure. The other end I'm just going to use to manually override the relays. So input number 1 will be used to turn the relays on. Input 2 will be used to turn the relays all off. So this is used to just manually turn on and off the relays. Again, this is just for troubleshooting purposes. If relays, if you're troubleshooting relays and some are working, some are not working, this is a good way to narrow down the problem in the system. Again, input number 1 is to turn all the relays on in the system. Input number 2 turns all the relays off. Again, those are the options dip switches here. Down below are the addresses, which are used for the backnet MSTP port here. So if by chance there's a front-end controller on the Walmart system, these address dip switches here are used to set the MSTP address. Okay, now to review the programming for the Nexus controller. All the programming on the controller has taken place in this programming area right here. We'll first start out with the station portion. All the Walmarts are programmed on station number 16, which again is for the contact closure. So once station number 16 is selected, you can move along to the button area, and there are 8 choices for the buttons. These 8 selections select these 8 inputs up here. So button 1 corresponds with input 1 all the way through button number 8. So let's just select number 1 here, which is input number 1. Next is the board selection, which is the relay firing cards. And again, we have 6 firing cards which are in the system, or 6 boards. So we'll just choose board number 1. The next area is the outputs, or the relays. And again, there are 8 relays associated with each of the boards. So we'll just choose relay number 1, or output number 1 here. And then the actions. So these actions are the commands or the actions associated with each of the relays. All the Walmarts or Sam's Clubs are set up for a maintain normally open or a maintain normally closed, and this will be set up for what the Novar IOM is calling for. So right now we'll just set it up for a normally open contact, just for demonstration purposes, and test out relay number 1 there. And as you can see, when manually overridden, relay number 1 is set up for a normally open contact. So this is the basic programming for the Nexus controller. If the LEDs go out like they just did, just simply press down on the station button, which will take you right back to where you were. There's no need to save anything. Once the action is set in the action area, this will save your programming. So the programming needs to be manually set up. If multiple relays need to be set up for the same inputs, these need to be manually keyed in. So if relays 1 through 8 need to be on input number 1, each of those outputs should be manually keyed into the Nexus controller. Okay, now let's go through some of the troubleshooting. Okay, in the dip switches, again, options number 6 is an all on and an all off. Input number 1 is the all on. Input number 2 is the all off. Each inputs number 1 through 8, up top here is a set of dry contacts. over here on the relays, each individual relay has its own override lever, so each of the relays can be manually overridden. It's important to note that when each of the relays are overridden, this will lock out the relay from the Novar. So if relay number 1 has been overridden, this will lock out relay number 1 from the Novar. So if the Novar is calling for a signal, relay number 1 will have to be cleared out on the Nexus before relay number 1 can be activated. And to clear that out, just simply press down for 2 seconds on the clear and discover button. To do this, a red indicator LED will light up here, and those overrides have been cleared out now. So a lot of times this is what will happen if you notice that the system is not working properly, the Nexus has been programmed, and the Novar isn't operating correctly, isn't kicking in and turning on the relays. A lot of times, if these relays have been overridden at the panel, a lot of times this clear and discover just needs press down for 2 seconds to clear out those overrides. There are some indicator LEDs on the Nexus controller and down here on the firing cards to be aware of. There's a heartbeat LED right here underneath the cover on the Nexus controller. This just indicates the Nexus is being powered correctly, is under normal power. There's a communication here on the Nexus controller. Just indicates it's communicating correctly with the firing cards. There's also a communication here on the firing cards at the termination points here, also indicating that the firing cards are communicating correctly with the Nexus controller. And down here, there's also a heartbeat on the firing cards, just indicating that the firing cards are under normal power as well. Up on the Nexus controller, if you've gone through your programming and you want to clear out your programming, just simply press and hold down on the station button, and you'll see the LEDs toggle from bottom to top. This will clear out and wipe out all the programming that has been done, and you can start from scratch. So if you want to start over, that's a good way to do that. Just hold down on the station button, and that'll just wipe everything out there. To get more information, please check us out on our website at touchplate.com.